The main components of Google Tag Manager are tags, triggers, and variables. And in this video, I will explain how are they connected with each other. Hey, my name is Julius and welcome to Analytics Mania YouTube channel, where you can learn Google Tag Manager and Google Analytics. And if you want to stay up to date with Google Tag Manager, consider subscribing to this channel. To properly learn Google Tag Manager, first you have to understand three key concepts: tags, triggers, and variables. Once you start understanding the connection between them, then the learning process will become easier. This video is a part of a video series called Google Tag Manager for Beginners. So if this video is the first one that you're watching, I highly recommend to check the description of this tutorial and start from the very first lesson instead. Alright, so let's dive in. Let's talk about three main components of Google Tag Manager that you should be aware right now. The first one is tag. The tag is usually a tracking code that you want to implement on your site. It might be Facebook Pixel event tag, it might be Google Analytics page view, it might be Google Ads conversion code or whatever. So if you want to activate a certain tracking code on a site, that is a tag. Then there are triggers. Triggers are conditions when you want your tags to fire. So if, for example, you want to activate your Google Ads conversion tag when a visitor signs up for your newsletter, that is a trigger. Other examples of triggers might be a page view, a click of a certain button, when a visitor scrolls for more than 25% of your page, and so on. And then there is a third component, which is called variables. Variables are little data points that you can use in tags or triggers. Sometimes variables might contain more information. Sometimes variables are even more complex functions. But in this case, you should start simple. So you can just think of variables as data points that can contain a single value or maybe a bit more complex, but still some information, some data or some configuration. When I explain tags, triggers, and variables to Google Tag Manager users, I usually like to start with three questions. So the first question is, what do you want Google Tag Manager to do? So for example, if you want to track a conversion, that's a tag. If you want to implement a chat widget on your website and that chat widget requires to add a code, that's a tag. Another example could be if you want to track a page view and send that page view to Google Analytics, that is also a tag. Then the next question is, when do you want that to happen? So for example, if you have a Google Ads conversion tag, the question is, when do you want to track that conversion? One of the examples could be when a form is submitted, when a button is clicked, or something else. So all of these situations are triggers. And then the last question is what, when, or how exactly. So if you want to be more specific, that's where variables come in. For example, if you want to fire your tag on a page view, the question is, do you want to fire on all page views or do you want to fire on a specific page view? So if, for example, you want to fire only on one specific page, then the page address is the variable because you want to fire your tag only when a trigger is page view and the variable is, let's say, page URL contains thank you or order successful or something else. So let's go back to that very first slide where we had tags, triggers, and variables. So once again, tag is a tracking code that you want to fire, but I mean, not only tracking code, that code might not track users. That code might, I don't know, change the color of a button or something else. But in general, tag is a piece of JavaScript that you want to activate on your site. Then a trigger is a condition when you want to happen. And then variable is a data point or, I don't know, some set of information or maybe some function that you use to either to make the trigger more specific or to transfer that particular data to third-party tools. And I believe that variables are the most confusing. At least they were for me when I was just starting to learn Google Tag Manager. So we can take a look at this a bit differently. At first, we have a tag. In this case, it's Google Ads conversion tag. So what do we want to do? We want to send a conversion data to Google Ads. Then the question is, when do we want that to happen? And that's where triggers come in. And our condition could be, well, we want to fire our Google Ads conversion tag on a thank you page. But Google Tag Manager is not a human, it's a system. And Google Tag Manager does not know what a thank you page means. We need to be more specific. We need to instruct the system to behave as we want. So in this case, that's where variables become very handy. We want our trigger to fire not on any page view, but only on those pages where a variable, which is page URL, contains purchase successful, because we know that a visitor lands on this page only when that visitor has actually purchased something. So this is our conversion. Now you might be wondering, all right, so this might look quite clear. I mean, you can probably understand why this variable is used right here, but what about a variable in a tag? What kind of variable can we use in a tag and make use of it? And an example could be like this. What if we could send not only the fact of a conversion to Google Ads, but also the order value? And that's where another variable could be used. In this case, we could send the variable, which is order total, and that variable could send the value of $30 to Google Ads. And in this case, we could see not only the number of conversions, but we can also see the number of revenue that was generated because of Google Ads. I hope that now you have a better understanding of how tags, triggers, and variables are connected with each other. This video is a part of a video series called Google Tag Manager for Beginners. Now let's go to the next lesson, and you will find the link to it below the video. Also, if you want to learn more about GTM, I have a free ebook that you can download. You will find the link to that ebook below the video as well. If you found this video useful, hit the thumbs up button below the video because it helps me continue working on this channel. Also, if you want to learn more about Google Tag Manager or Google Analytics, consider subscribing to this channel. My name is Julius, this is Analytics Mania, and I'll see you in the next video.